So Emily, welcome.
Yes.
So today's topic is an interview with Emily McGrory on her research paper, which I'm going to let her introduce. And if you wouldn't mind talking to you in the third person, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and what you're at now. So you're a student vice president of GMIT. So what's
I
your
am. My role is basically to look after the students of GMIT Mayo. That is as simple as that. That is my number one priority. But I obviously do things in the background. I organise campaigns and events, and I talk to the staff and yada, yada, yada. But I run campaigns, events, and look after the students during the year.
And what, just out of curiosity, what possessed you to run for the student vice president and to take on that role?
Believe it or not, I didn't. Now I'm over the moon that I have the job, but Daniel and Nigel actually came to me and said, nobody's going for it. Put your name down. We have nobody. We will not have a vice president if someone doesn't go for it, and we would like you to go for it. And I was over the moon. I never thought I would even want to do it, but it's one of the best jobs I've ever had so far.
Well, I can tell you, if those two fellas now were nominating you, they've great faith. I can guarantee.
They're legends.
Yeah, no, like either I know Nigel nominates people for stuff. He doesn't do it on a whim. It's not a case of they really have faith in you, so they put someone decent in the job, and that's what they wanted. So
and we're good pals as well. That always helps.
Well, yeah, I mean you have to get along with people. So congratulations. So we'll get down to the bones of it. What we're going to talk about today is your research, which was when I seen it come up, I was like, that's quite interesting. I seen it come up whenever, I think it was Research Friday when GMIT announced it. So that's going back a good while. And I screenshot it into my phone. I said, we're going to have a chat, because I out of all the outdoor aids and stuff, you kind of see a recurring theme. It's ecology or so whatever, for myself it was, I done it on coaching, and you'll see stuff on that, but you went down a different route. Will you do you want to give us the heading of your final paper, and give us a little bit of background on why and what brought this about? Why you felt so strongly to research this?
Yeah, so the heading is it was an examination into the equality of LGBTQ plus community members in outdoor centres, and specifically around Ireland, because I did notice there wasn't a lot of research in the line of LGBTQ plus or even gender in relation to Irish context. So that was one big thing for me. I also did it because personally I am a member of the LGBTQ plus, and I have gone through the whole experiences in outdoor centres and stuff like that. And I've worked with people, and I've gone and participated in centres with people who are in the LGBTQ plus, and although they may not have been out, they're still there. So I wanted to examine their equality and stuff like that.
Absolutely, of course they're there. I mean, it's nice to know that there's a variety of people. So what did the research throw up for you? Like you said, there wasn't an awful lot of it in Ireland. So is there much research throughout the world, or is it very, very narrowed? Is there an awful lot of research anywhere being done by it, or are you kind of just tipping the iceberg here now and breaking down barriers for people?
I wouldn't say I'm breaking too many barriers down. The UK have a fair amount, and I know New Zealand were very much invested in that kind of thing in a way. A lot of it was like perspectives and stuff like that, and it wasn't just focused on I went into like facilities, kind of physical presence of what would make it an inclusive and equal space, but they went into more on that kind of a thing, or they investigated, say, groups of people are attending, just basically opinions. Yeah.
Cool. So it's all about, it's kind of personal experiences really for people. That's what's come through.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's more qualitative, isn't it? It's qualitative? It is qualitative.
Yeah, qualitative. So I did a mixed method approach, because I did online surveys as well. I wanted to get as many people involved as I could, so kind of reached out to everybody. But qualitative would be the way to go, the interviews.
And all right, so from your own personal experience of working in, I suppose what I probably should have said in the beginning was, I know you from GMIT, from the two of us have come through GMIT from the outdoor
Yeah.
education program. This
Yeah.
might explain some of the background and why it'd be important for us to understand you from a personal point of view, but me from a practitioner and someone who runs a business. This is what I found very interesting about, because it's not, I suppose, for me, it's not widely talked about, and I suppose it should be in a way. And only by talking about it do we start to get an understanding of it. But like, as an employer, I think it's great what you've done. It's opened my eyes up to, I suppose, what goes on. Like, you speak of stereotyping in your research. So I suppose it's probably a big thing, really, is stereotyping. What barriers or what stuff have you come across as stereotyping, obviously in your research, but also in your personal? Have you seen a lot of stereotyping in your own personal life, in experience in working?
In a way, yeah, I have, not too negatively now. It doesn't always have to be negative when you're talking about stereotypes, but let's say, for example, I worked in a place and they didn't know I was gay before, and when they did find out, their whole attitude towards me changed, in a sense where the men would treat me more as a man kind of employee and stuff like that. I was allowed to carry more things. I was actually allowed to do more things, and they were training me more. I don't know why, but that was the stereotype of, you're gay, you know, you're more able, or you're more physically able now for some reason. That was my experience.
That's interesting. I'd never have thought that. But anyway, so you got treated more, and did you find it more inclusive, or did you find, like, I suppose when they're saying that you're allowed to carry more and do more, did you find that you learned a lot from it? As you said, it's not all a negative experience. Did you find it benefited you or was it
it was not really, it didn't benefit me professionally in a way. Well, it didn't. I was allowed to run more activities, not more, but I was bumped up, and I was allowed to do it quicker or whatever. But professionally, no. Personally, with employees and people that I worked with, it was different. It was more a sense of, I had lad talk with everybody, and like, I worked in a centre, and it was just male, and there was one woman, she was on reception, and the men would just talk to me more, let's say, just talk to me more and kind of relate to me, and kind of lad talk, you know.
All right.
Kind of way.
That's kind of interesting. I think for me, I don't know if that's what.
No, it was interesting for me too.
Yeah. And would you have seen it then? Okay, so on the flip side of it, do you have any male gay friends who would have had the reverse, or have you come across experiences where that would be the reverse for people, where they wouldn't be included as much, or they wouldn't have been given as much, like, or treated negatively different, I suppose?
Yeah. I know, and like the bit of a swap in gender because of their sexuality. Is that what you're saying? Like, I haven't come across it, and I don't know anybody that has. And I have read a lot of research in that ability is matched to your gender and your sexuality. So like, you know, that's where the stereotypes come from. So I've read a lot of research that says openly gay men are seen as weaker, or physically weaker, but that's as far in as I know about that kind of a thing. But so, like, I can see it in different aspects of my life, you know, in that kind of way.
So like, when you say they'd be seen as physically weaker, but would they have been seen then as mentally weaker as well, or would that have a knock-on effect to their mental health? I mean, straight across the board. I'm not speaking male, female. I'm talking LGBT, straight across. So what issues then would you have seen with, say, negative issues would you see to that for mental health side of it?
I would say gay men in particular, now that everyone has their own opinion, it's just I've seen that they're seen as weaker mentally because they're more sensitive, stereotyped as sensitive now. but not everyone is the same. But that's the way people will come across. It's the same as if a woman is too sensitive, you know, that kind of way. The gay men match more female gender at times, and depending on how you come across. Like, I would be quite a tomboy in my way, and over the years, like, I have been called a tomboy in that stereotype, and I've no problem with it. I almost welcome it, because it means I'm cool. To me, that's cool. I'm a tomboy, but yeah, you're put in that stereotype, you know.
Yeah, but I suppose you seem like someone who's very confident being out and being you, like being 100%. This is me, and take me or leave me. So you're probably really confident in that, being described as a tomboy or whatever. Like, I don't know, maybe you're not. Maybe it took a lot.
No, I absolutely am. And you know, it's funny. The only reason I am is because of the outdoor educational course I did. It allowed me to be that tomboy. It allowed me, and my sports would make me feel normal. You know, that kind of way. Like, I would fit into it, because you're not that you're not gendered in sports, because of course you are, but I was mad in sports, and if you play for a team, like, you know, your team are with you 100%, and so was my outdoor educational course and stuff like that. You know, we all supported each other.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I found over the years is, I suppose we were like, when we were brought up, you know, you're looking at team sports, and it's you're either in a male or you're in female, or, you know, so there's very little that crossover or mixture. Now, there is at a young age, really young age, where there's no gender class. But what I found over the years in the outdoors is you're seen more as an athlete, or you're just into the sport. So it's not a case of you're in one bracket or the other. It's like, if I'm going surfing, we're going surfing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I suppose a lot of it does come down to competition then at the end of the day, but the sports that we practice are very inclusive.
Yes,
from the point of view of, you're not segregating, because you're not, if you're competing, you're really competing against each other. Me and you could go and compete, but it'd be more fun.
More along the lines of ability, rather than, you know, you have to play for a woman's team or like things like that, you know, that kind of way. And you were saying just there before that, you know, when I was younger, I played on a lads soccer team. And when I was at the age of 12, I was told I couldn't play soccer anymore. There was no women's team, and I was too old to play on a lads team. And then I got into adventure sports, and there was no cap on age. There was, do your sport, go into your age group. That was it, which I loved, you know, that kind of way. Yeah,
because I even see that now, like, you know, you see it with there's no, I suppose skateboarding for me is one of those sports that I've got a good few friends, and one good friend in Dublin, and his daughter's, I think she's 15, and she's really taken to skateboarding. And I know even through my wife, who would have been in the rugby scene, and she, like, so I have a good understanding of the stereotypical stuff. Like, she would have played a lot of high-end rugby, and we've always said that, like, you know, we wanted the stuff to be inclusive. You know, you want like, and I see that with skateboarding, that you come down, you're not seen as the male or the female or the boy or the girl. It's, can you do this trick? Can you do that trick? And I think that's you know, where we could be going with stuff, and it's, you know, really does build on ability. In terms of, I suppose, the GMIT and the stuff that we've done, what instructorships did you end up with? Just out of
I ended up with my day skipper and my leave no trace training. So
yeah, cool.
I wanted to get the surfing, but I was too late in the end.
Yeah. You had a bad teacher. You had a bad teacher.
Yeah,
we put it down to a bad teacher. Yeah. I'll have to sack him.
We need to do it.
Yeah. But like, right, so we go to the day skipper, and this is another thing I see at the outdoors, and I see even through my own business, is like, I'm not bothered whether you're male, female, or whatever, as long as you're able to work, and as long as one or you know, you keep our group safe and whatever else.
Yeah.
I suppose on a boat, if you're a day skipper on a boat, or you're a skipper on a boat, like, there's no it's everybody pulls their weight, and nobody hides behind a gender as such, I suppose. So you learn a lot from stuff like that. Is there anything in anything specific that you would have taken from GMIT in that lines where you it's just, or any experience, we'll say, where you could see that it's just everybody mucks in, if you know what I mean? It's no
It's more like, where did you see that didn't happen, to be honest, in a way, like, which is great. GMIT helped me massively with my social identity and stuff like that. Like, everybody had a different role and a role. There was nobody ever left out or anything like that. Particularly on LGB days, like the Tuesdays or the Thursdays, like, everyone was working together to put boats on trailers, boards and vans, all of that. Like, it wasn't a matter of, well, there was, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's like the men would help with heavier things or say, no, relax, don't do that. But I would say, no, I'm happy to help, I will help. But that's just being a gentleman in a way, like, you know, there's nothing wrong with it, but presuming someone's ability for their gender isn't great. But it's just as simple as, do you want a hand with that? Or, you know, like, can I do that for you? And if someone says yes, do it, no bother. If someone says, no, I'm fine, don't insist, you do it, you know? Which, that's it. Really.
You have to manage. What, like, I suppose, right, so we've talked about a little bit about what other barriers would you see for the LGBT community, LGBTQ, I can never get this right.
No, you're grand. I do it myself.
What barriers at the moment have you seen, and what have you seen being lifted? So the barriers that you've seen people working towards being not broken down or lifted, I don't know, like.
If I had one answer for you, it's exclusive language. It's the language people have towards everybody, you know. It's mainly, I think, you know, lack of awareness. Like, I said that a lot in my dissertation. It's not that the outdoors and centres are exclusive or anything like that. Like, they're a massive diverse place for people, and I personally, and hopefully a lot of people would think, is a place where if you're different, you can go and be accepted and included. It's just a matter of people in it using exclusive language and just being unaware of that language, you know, like they don't comprehend they're being biased or something like that, or they're stereotyping. It's just things like that,
but it's even funny when you say, you know, it's some place you can go where you're different, and like, at the end of the day, we're all humans, so you're not really different. You I suppose that's a societal thing that maybe you've been brought up to believe, or maybe so maybe that's the barrier that
you're putting categories as you grow up.
You're in a box. So it'd be nice to see those boxes being broke down. You also spoke about policies and stuff, so and awareness. So if we talk about inclusive language, like, what type of stuff would you, if you were writing policy, and lack of policy or lack of awareness to a policy to protect LGBTQT individuals, so what in the region of that did you find? What policy, like, so if you were writing a policy, or what would you implement in policies to make it more inclusive?
To make it more inclusive in policies is, I come back to the word awareness dramatically, because I think it's a very important thing to start off with. So in policies, maybe say, I wouldn't know how to write them too much, but maybe like educate and make people aware of what kind of exclusive languages are out there, so they can identify them and, you know, recognize them in their everyday life. Like, I grew up and gay was used as something to describe, oh, that's gay, or oh, I wouldn't be doing that, that's gay. You know, that's a kind of exclusive language I'm talking about. But in regards to policies, I know a lot of it with outdoor centres is regards to transgender or anyone in the LGBTQ plus wanting to use a different toilet to the assigned gender they are, you know, and stuff like that, and it's not really made available, or sometimes the practitioners or the facilitators might get in trouble because of policy for allowing, say, a transgender woman into a male or a transgender woman into a female changing room, you know, they will get in trouble for it. So a lot of protection is needed on either side, rather than just the side of the LGBTQ plus. Because if the practitioner and the facilitator is protected, there'd be more help. There'd be, you know, they'd be more than happy to allow anything. It's just, so it's more policy on either side, rather than focusing on, say, LGBTQ plus. Because if someone on either side is going to get in trouble or blah blah blah, then there's a clash and it's just thrown away, you know.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does, because there's, I mean, we are talking like if it's inclusive, it's not just inclusive to the LGBT, it has to be inclusive to
everybody.
That's
everybody needs to be involved.
So did you, like, when you came into GMIT and you done your 4 years, were you out as gay before you came in, or did you find more confidence to come out and say this as the years went on, or were you confident that in your own skin before you went in to say, well, this is who I am and this is who I'm going to be? Or did you find that the outdoors and working in the outdoor sector helped you make that transition, or not that transition, but that leap to go?
I hear what you're saying. What you're saying. That language is hard, Charlotte. I'm just telling you that the language is hard, but we're learning, and that's the main thing. And we're becoming more aware, like, you know. But to answer your question, I came into college quite in the dark about myself, and I knew who I was. I was slowly coming out and comfortable, but to answer your question, outdoor education and doing my course and coming to GMIT helped me with my confidence. And I'm sitting in front of you right now talking about a dissertation I did on equality of LGBTQ plus. And if I had told myself I was going to do that in first year, I would have laughed. I would have said, good luck, you probably wouldn't be even still out. That's a good one, Emily, or whatever. But it's the experiences I've had and the people I've met over the years that have helped me dramatically.
Like, that's not just GMIT though. I think that's college experience, and if you get the right college experience, so like I suppose we are advocates for what we've come through and the experiences that we've had. But I'm also very conscious that there will have been people who came through GMIT and had a negative experience, not to the point of what it is, but from the point of the course wasn't for them. So I suppose, like, for anybody, it's once they find the right course for them, and find it with a passion and take it, you know, that experience will only be enhanced when they find the right support network around them, which is what I found in GMIT, and by the sounds of it and the looks of it, you found it as well, that you were comfortable now being who you are and not who you want to be, or hiding anything. That's it.
Absolutely. And even now I'd like to be a voice for LGBTQ plus in GMIT going into my new role, you know, that kind of way. Because I know when I was aware of people that were quite high up or had roles that were, you know, representing people, and I seen they were in the LGBTQ plus community, I was like, okay, I can kind of do that too, you know, or that's great. Like, it's becoming normalized, you know. It's great.
It is good, and it is, again, I suppose it comes back to the whole thing. It's education. It's like, it's not something that would have been talked about when I started college, and that's only 10 years ago. So there would have been, like, you would have had gay friends and whatever else, but it wasn't, and you'd know who was gay in your class or whatever, or friends or whatever, but it was never something that was really discussed. And I never looked at them any different than I look at anyone, to be honest. I mean, personality, not, you know, I either get on with you or I don't get on with you.
I find a lot of people in our profession are like that. I do.
You kind of just get on. And it's good to see people like yourself coming out and being, you know, the voices of it, because there's a lot more who wouldn't be as confident to even start it, or even to go, I'd love to research it, but I wouldn't have, you know, I wouldn't have the guts to take that step, that bold step. And it's not a bold step. I think it needs to be talked about. And I suppose that's the whole thing of this month. what are the top findings you found from your research? What were the highlights of it?
Oh, if I can even remember it now, it was more, I would have to say the lack of policy surprised me, because it's been such a thing, and we have Pride Month and this, that, and the other. I was a bit surprised that there was a lack of policy and a lack of training involved, because I don't know, I come into my new role here and there's 1,000,001 trainings available, but they're just not done for employees or employers in centres around.
So you speak of training there, like this is me just from an employer's point of view. Talk to us a little bit about what training would you see implemented, because that's side that we'd like to be introducing into the company, or through the Adventure Hub is creating those workshops for employers. I suppose that's what we're kind of looking at, and helping the minority groups achieve those goals and become more inclusive, and that's what we're about. So what training would you like to see implemented?
Awareness. I just want to emphasize the word awareness, because that's where you start from, and I wouldn't know particular trainings that you could do in regards to it. I haven't actually gone through any myself, but it's more like situations. Just, if you were to do a first aid course, you go through scenarios and stuff like that. So that kind of a training is always good, because you can recognize scenarios and just become more aware of the language to use. I even have in my emails now she, her after my name. So you normalize for those transgender that it's a normal thing to have to say I'm she, he, or her, whatever, So it's more become more inclusive and more an ally and a part of the community. So training people how to, does that make any sense?
Yeah. No, it does. I suppose, and it goes back to awareness. All comes back to communication, in the sense that exactly. How we, throw away comments that we might make, you might find derogatory. So it's recognizing those bits and pieces that we do classify.
Unconscious bias training in a way.
Yeah. And to recognize that's something we might collaborate on. You never know.
Absolutely. I'd love that. That'd be great.
If you are interested, I'd be happy to have you down, and we'll try and organize you come down and do a talk on inclusive. I'll work with you on it. We'll work on an inclusive workshop for students, and even for coaches, in the outdoors. So we could.
That's important, yeah.
There. So maybe work with the clubs on how to speak to people, because I suppose what my role with the Adventure Hub is to create pathways for people to get involved in these sports. My role as a company, Mayo Adventure Experience is one thing, but my role with the Castlebar Adventure Hub is another. So one's an employer, and one is to create avenues with the sports partnership.
As important as each other, though.
Yeah. And I have guys running the business, so it affords me the time to be putting into this, and now I suppose now is the time to do it and trying to get it off the ground. So I'd be happy to work with you on something and see what pilot schemes we can try. Happy out. I had another question. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, suggestions for training and inclusion. Have you any suggestions actually for training and inclusion, structural?
Training inclusion.
Training for awareness and inclusion, should I say? Apologies.
How do you mean? No, just in particular, sorry.
So in your suggestions for policies, so you had suggestions for training and awareness and inclusion. So I'm just wondering, what suggestions would you say? Okay, for example, if I was a club, let's say a local kayak club or orienteering club, what suggestions would you have for total inclusion in their, or for training and awareness for inclusion for their club, for the whole community? I'm not going to say any community, I'm going to say the whole community.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
I'll put you on the spot.
No, you're okay. I when I was doing my research, I could answer these like this, and I would have the best answers ever. But it's just been so long ago. But it's more like to be out loud and proud. Is the best way to go about it. I know you're saying about training and stuff, but to be inclusive is to represent those that you mightn't be a part of the LGBTQ plus, but you are like there's this thing called an ally now, and it's for me the training would be beneficial if you could relate and there was passion and there was an actual, it wasn't just come in for a half an hour of this training and that's it done. If it was done throughout your work year, it wasn't just at the start of you starting a job and stuff like that, it was kept up, and you know, your organization had pride flags and people could see that, it's very welcoming, and just a general knowledge of awareness. And yeah, that's the best answer I can give you right now, but dreams.
Have you anything else you'd like to add? Have you anything else you'd like to say on it all?
I'd just like to add that if I was to say anything, the outdoors and adventure sports and sports in general are inclusive places and places that people can go and express themselves. And yeah, you'll come across discrimination and stereotyping, but in general, it's a great place to be. And if it was more connected to the LGBTQ plus, in just be obvious about it, you know, like yourself in Mayo Adventure and stuff, if you just had maybe, I don't know, appreciation day for something like that, you know, just don't leave it in the dark. For like when June's over, Pride isn't just over, you know. So keep it up, you know, be proud all the time. And
it's funny that you say that, right? Because I hope I screenshotted it now so I'd remember. I bet you I didn't. I was on Facebook at lunchtime and there was a group doing Paddle for Pride, I think it was.
Yeah.
I must figure out, I must say, but so we had what we had planned on doing this month, and or even this, yeah, it is this month, is to get a group from the community out and just get them out, get them paddling. So that's what I was going to ask you was, by any chance, can you make it to Castlebar and go paddling someday in the next?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd only love to. Oh my god.
Sound. And do you want to bring a group with you? Do you want to bring a few friends?
Yeah, I'd be over the moon. I'd be bringing everyone from GMIT.